just to confirm the Deputy Secretary of Transportation. The number 3 is justice. And I even had to file cloture on Governor Branstad, who's going to be ambassador to China, who came out of the Foreign Relations Committee unanimously. So you can see the Democrats want to make everything go as slow as possible. So we'll work our way through that on the confirmations, and we'll be back in touch with you on health care.
Well, as the leader said, our conference has been spending a lot of our time talking about the path forward on health care. We know that Obamacare is broken and needs to be fixed. Everybody in this country, I think, knows that. The status quo is unsustainable, so we're looking for the way to make health care more affordable, more patient-centered, more personalized for people in this country. There are 1 in 3 counties in America today who have one choice when it comes to options in the individual market. As you all heard last week, Iowa is losing its last provider in the individual marketplace, and that leaves 72,000 Iowans without coverage if in fact that happens. The sort of mid-level plan this year saw premiums go up by 25%. So it is a disaster. It isn't a death spiral. It's got to be fixed, and we intend to fix it. So we're going through that process right now with our members and getting the best ideas and charting a path forward that, again, will lead us to a place where we have something that is better for the American people, and certainly they deserve better than what they're getting with Obamacare.
Well, the insurance companies are starting to come out with the premium suggestions for what they're going to have to charge next year. And for people that live in this general area, what you have seen is that there have been announcements of rates going up in the District of Columbia 29%, in Virginia 35%, and in Maryland up 50% on the Obamacare market. So these increases are absolutely dramatic, and that's the concern, obviously, of all Americans when they see announcements like this. We have to say, what can we do to lower the premiums that are the result of the Obama health care law? Say, how bad has it been over the years? Well, an organization called eHealth said that premiums in the individual market from 2013 to now are up 99%. So last week, the Aetna insurance company said we're out of the Obamacare markets all across the country, and this is a company that initially was one of the cheerleaders for the Obamacare exchanges. When you look at counties all around the country, 7 out of 10 counties are down to either 1 or 2 choices total on the Obamacare exchanges as companies continue to pull out and say, we don't want the business, we don't want to sell there. So for people at home, they're seeing increased premiums, they're seeing fewer choices, and we're working on getting a health care system that's better than the one that we had before Obamacare.
You know, the first year of the implementation of Obamacare, I went to the floor virtually every week with story after story after story of Missourians and their families who just simply were losing the health care they'd had. The one family whose son was born with a significant problem. He was 20, had the same doctors his entire life, but under Obamacare, they lived on the Kansas border. Their doctors were on the Kansas side. There was no insurance policy they could qualify for that had those doctors. So they decided they'd go without insurance and put their personal money behind letting him go to the doctors he'd always gone to. We continue to get those same stories. I had someone last week call Carla, who's a farmer in Orick, Missouri. She said her situation just continues to get worse and worse. In her case, if anybody in her family was sick, they'd have $28,000 out of pocket if 2 people in their family were sick before anything would be done by their insurance company to help them pay those bills. $6,000 deductible, $12,000 maximum, $16,000 in monthly premiums. This is families, even if they have coverage, don't have access. If you've already put $16,000 on the table and you have to put another $6,000 on the table before you can have your insurance company help you, nobody thinks that's insurance. The current system isn't working. We have to figure out how to make this market work better. Most Missouri have one insurance company willing to offer insurance on the individual market. We're just hopeful that those counties still have at least one company next year, even though, as been mentioned today, Iowa, our neighbor Iowa, has no companies willing to offer in the exchange or out of the exchange on the individual market, because this bad plan that we're under now has stressed the marketplace so badly, nobody wants to be part of it. And Rob, a small business guy in St. Joseph, said his insurance at work, where he pays half of it for his employees, has gone up 50% at work. And when you ask the insurance companies, they say we've got to find some way in the group market to help offset what happens in the individual market. So we need to do the job that lets Americans have access to health care and insurance they can afford.
And just to put a finer point on what both Roy and John were talking about, in Iowa, it's not that the insurers are leaving the exchange in the individual marketplace. They are actually leaving Iowa. So either on the exchange or off the exchange, the concern in Iowa is that there will be no longer available individual plans to purchase in Iowa. And for people to stand around Congress and say the status quo is acceptable, shame on them. And I hope we can come to an agreement, both Democrats and Republicans, to realize we have to work and find a solution and put in place of the Affordable Care Act something that reduces the cost of care while increasing the quality of care. Something else that's probably not making the headlines that it should this week in Washington is National Police Week. The fact that we have law enforcement professionals from around the country in town today talking about those who they have lost on the end of watch this past year. And in Colorado, we had some tragedies as well that I want to share with you and celebrate and memorialize these individuals. Corporal Nate Kerrigan, Trooper Cody Donahue, Deputy Sheriff Derek Gear. So if you see them around Washington, D.C. today and around the country, please share our thanks with the men and women in law enforcement that keep our communities safe.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. Where is the distinguished Republican whip, and what does that mean about who's going to be the new FBI director now that he has withdrawn his consideration?
Well, my recommendation to the president apparently said today he was not interested. I recommended he take a look at Judge Merrick Garland. But that illustrates the kind of person I hope and expect will come next. Somebody deeply credentialed in criminal justice and criminal justice enforcement, completely apolitical, in line with the tradition of prior FBI directors. And I'm optimistic the president's going to name someone like that.
And he asked for your recommendation, or you offered that to him?
I'm discussing the matter with him. Nancy?
Do you have concerns about the president's ability to properly handle classified information?
No.
Why not?
Are you starting to lose confidence in President Trump?
No.
Well, should the reaction encourage the White House to release any documents, any notes or transcripts?
Yeah, the Intelligence Committee, I think, has already requested additional information. I have a lot of confidence in Chairman Burr and Senator Warner to handle that whole matter perfectly.
But are you encouraging the White House to release those documents?
Senator McConnell, every day there seems to be a new controversy with his administration, whether it's how he handled Comey firing these tweets about releasing these tapes of James Comey, and then now this disclosure of classified information with the Russians. How much concern is there within your conference right now about these seemingly endless controversies?
Yeah, let me just repeat what I said in an earlier interview this morning. I think it would be helpful to have less drama emanating from the White House.
Have you conveyed that to the president?
Have you communicated that to the president?
I said it publicly earlier this morning, too.
Any recommendations? Any recommendations on how you have less drama?
At properties that he owns, not the White House.
Yeah. Yeah, I think all of that is a question best addressed to the White House itself. Thank you.